look no further than what Disney is doing with their woke, DEI, feminist agenda.
Girl, this isn't a plot twist. This is a full-blown behind-the-scenes war.
The producers, far left-wing activists in Hollywood, are turning on her, and Disney has canceled all of Rachel Zegler's appearances on their media platforms.
After months of silence, replacements, reboots, and Rachel Zegler getting dragged harder than a red carpet after the Oscars, she just did the unthinkable. She broke the Hollywood code. She called out the studio. She said it with her whole chest. Disney never paid us what we were promised. And allegedly, she's talking millions.
I'll quickly mention this. The son of Snow White producer Mark Platt, Jonah Platt is the son's name. He is speaking out publicly against Rachel Zegler and blaming her for the film's catastrophic failure at the box office.
As she destroyed hundreds of millions of dollars worth of IP for Disney, but she also has destroyed her career and the careers of anybody who worked on the movie. The producers, far left-wing activists in Hollywood, are turning on her, and Disney has canceled all of Rachel Zegler's appearances on their media platforms.
According to fresh reports, Rachel Zegler is now claiming that neither she nor Gal Gadot received full payment from Disney after the collapse of the Snow White remake, and sources close to her say she is done playing nice.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird.
Oh,
Someone
what a
didn't do
shame.
that this time.
Let's be real, Rachel could have faded into the background after the flop. She could have laid low, rebranded, maybe slid into a Netflix rom-com 6 months later. But no, she's allegedly going scorched earth. And Disney is the target? Insiders say Rachel Zegler is in full emotional freefall. And for the first time since the Snow White backlash, she's no longer staying quiet. In closed circles, she's allegedly been saying things like, "They used me as the face of this mess, then ghosted me. I gave them everything and got nothing in return. I was thrown under the bus and left unpaid. I'm done protecting them." And here's the wild part. It's not just a personal rant. Allegedly, her legal team is involved. That's right, Rachel Zegler is reportedly building a case, claiming that Disney breached multiple contract terms, from delayed payments to unfulfilled promo promises, and even withheld royalties tied to merchandise and streaming deals. And if true, this could explode into a lawsuit that makes the headlines look tame.
After one hell of a PR tour, Disney's live-action Snow White is finally, I know, you were wondering, it's going to be hitting movie theaters next week.
Remember when Gal Gadot allegedly distanced herself from Rachel during the heat of the backlash? Well, word is Gal isn't staying silent anymore. But she's not riding or dying either. She's moving like a chess master. Sources say Gal's team has quietly confirmed similar issues with delayed or incomplete payments from Disney. But unlike Rachel, she's allegedly keeping it behind closed doors. For now. Why? Because Gal is still a power player. She's strategic. She doesn't need to shout. Her lawyers handle the shouting for her. But the fact that she's even, aligning with Rachel on this point, that's massive. And it allegedly means one thing. Something shady went down with Disney's payouts. Because if two of the biggest names attached to this project are both raising red flags about money, you already know this goes way deeper than just bad box office numbers.
I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them,
She's a good actress.
that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
The ego on this girl is ridiculous.
So, what's Disney saying? Absolutely nothing. Classic, no statement, no PR spin, no denial, just silence. But behind the scenes, insiders say the studio is in full-blown panic mode. One source claims the execs thought the controversy had passed. The reboot was supposed to wash it away. Now this brings everything back. And it's worse, because it's not just about Rachel's feelings anymore. It's about contractual obligations, unpaid money, and possible labor law violations. And let's not forget, this is coming on the heels of a year of strikes, lawsuits, and massive PR disasters for Disney. They can't afford another headline. But now, Rachel might be forcing one.
And your parents looking at Disney being like, what are you doing, guys? Like, this is supposed to be a place where magic happens, and all you're doing is indoctrinating kids, and you're having this person be the poster child.
Social media, of course, is in full chaos mode. Half the internet is screaming. Of course, Disney didn't pay her. They scapegoated her, and now she's exposing the truth. The other half? She flopped the movie, embarrassed the brand, and now she wants a paycheck? It's giving no one wins energy. But one thing's certain, this drama just got reignited, and the Snow White conversation is back at the top of the timeline. Except now, it's not about bad acting or bad press. It's about money, power, legal war, and Rachel Zegler is finally fighting back.
Tell me if this is attractive to you. Like, imagine you invested into her being the face of the movie, and she's the main character and she's trying to promote the movie. Would this make you want to go watch the movie when she's starring in it and she's the main character?
Okay, so let's break it down, because this is not your basic actor versus studio squabble. This is Rachel Zegler versus the Mouse House, and what's being whispered behind the scenes. It's giving corporate manipulation and selective silencing. Sources close to Rachel's legal team have allegedly revealed that she's not just mad about delayed checks. She's mad because she feels used, exploited, and discarded. And now, she wants every single dollar she's owed.
Destroyed hundreds of millions of dollars worth of IP for Disney, but she also has destroyed her career and the careers of anybody who worked on the movie.
When Rachel signed on for Snow White, she was supposed to be the star of a $1 billion reboot. The deal allegedly included a base salary in the low millions, royalties tied to international box office bonus pay for reaching promotional milestones, a cut of merchandising revenue, dolls, apparel, etc. Performance incentives if the film broke certain records. Spoiler, it didn't. Sounds standard for a lead in a legacy Disney film, right? Except here's where it gets messy. According to sources, those bonus payments were tied to specific performance clauses, not just box office numbers, but public perception, brand alignment, and positive engagement with audiences and press. And after that now infamous press tour, after she called the prince weird, mocked the original movie, and ranted about rewriting the story, Disney allegedly marked those clauses as not fulfilled, which means they didn't pay her the back end, they didn't issue merchandise, bonuses, and they may have allegedly held her base payment hostage under investigation. That's not just shady, that's calculated silence disguised as contractual compliance.
We'll still offend the dwarves, but we'll CGI dwarves. So we'll guarantee no employment for little people while getting rid of this other component that warranted CGI. It was the worst decision they could possibly make.
Here's where Rachel's team is fighting back. They're allegedly saying the entire Snow White campaign was doomed from the start, and Rachel is being used as the fall girl for decisions made way above her grade. Their argument? She didn't write the script. She didn't approve the messaging. She was encouraged to be outspoken, modern, and empowered. She was sold as a new kind of princess and dragged when the public didn't like it. And now, they claim Disney is weaponizing the contract's clauses and brand protection language to avoid paying her what she's owed. And babe, if that's true, that could open floodgates for other actors who faced similar quiet contract manipulation in the wake of flops or backlash. Rachel may have flopped the promo, but Disney allegedly set her up, then used her downfall to save themselves money. It's giving. Thanks for the headlines. Now here's a blank check.
She's been sabotaging this film for years at this point, in this sort of pursuit of entitlement.
Now talk about Gal Gadot, because allegedly not just watching from the sidelines, her team is reportedly reviewing the same structures and quietly begun gathering that her image was also damaged. Not by her own choices, but by association. Sources say Gal was promised the same merchandising revenue, expected a residual deal through streaming platforms, and was allegedly cut off from future deals. Once the backlash spiraled, unlike Rachel, didn't make the headlines during the press tour. But now, she's allegedly preparing to make headlines in court. And Disney is terrified of both of them joining forces, because one lawsuit is manageable. Two women, both A-list, both with legal firepower, both willing to air dirty laundry, that's PR death.
Every way that Disney changed the story, it changed it for the worse.
Let's be honest, a few months ago, Rachel wasn't getting sympathy from anyone. But now, the narrative is shifting. Even her harshest critics are starting to say, wait, they didn't pay her? After using her face on all that merch? Disney might be the real villain here, and that's because the second the public starts siding with the problem child, the studio loses control of the story. And if there's one thing Disney cannot afford in this era of strikes, lawsuits, and declining box office faith, it's looking like the corporate bully.
They don't know what merit is because they get paid whether they succeed or not.
Let's be real, actors don't usually come for Disney. They might hint at issues, they throw subtle shade, but going fully public and actually accusing the powerful in the world of money, that's the kind of move that careers makes someone a legend. And according to alleged insiders, Rachel Zegler is one step away from pulling the trigger, because after months of silence, internal disputes, broken promises, and now an alleged reboot that replaced her without notice, she's reportedly done being polite, and if her team lets her talk, we could be on the brink of one of the biggest actor vs. studio callouts in recent Hollywood history.
For Snow White, it's coming to terms with finding herself and finding her inner voice and finding a sense of agency so that she can be a just ruler and a wonderful queen, because there's another one in town.
Let's talk contracts. This is where the real drama lives. Most people think an actor signs a deal, performs, and gets paid. Simple, right? Wrong. At Disney's level, especially with legacy IP like Snow White, actors sign massive morality, press conduct agreements, and performance-based payout structures. According to an alleged leak from someone familiar with Rachel's original contract, there were clauses tied to alignment, public behavior, during press social media tone and engagement sentiment, approval of merchandising rights, and most controversially, that allowed for partial payment withholding if the studio deemed the actor responsible for brand damage. Let that sink in. Disney allegedly built in a failsafe that would allow them to not pay Rachel, or Gal, if they decided their public image harmed the product. And after the backlash, they allegedly activated that clause like a door. No second chances, no apology tour, just a cold internal memo and an accounting that froze the bag. And if Rachel's legal team can prove that clause was misused, or that Disney planned to use it, things even got bad, this stops being a PR scandal and becomes a legal bomb.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird. We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story just because, we cast a guy in the movie.
Right now, Rachel hasn't filed an official lawsuit, but sources close to the situation, her team is weighing the risks of taking this to court or airing it out through a press interview first. And if she does, she won't be alone, because suddenly, actors all over the industry are watching this play out like hawks, especially after the 2023 WGA SAG-AFTRA strikes. Studios were exposed for withholding residuals, delaying payments, hiding streaming numbers, and using bad PR as an excuse to cancel deals without full compensation. If Rachel steps forward and names names, quotes numbers, and shows contracts, she could blow the lid off of how Disney allegedly operates behind the scenes. We're talking secret contract clauses, loopholes for cutting talent checks, silent retaliation against talent who speak up, and damage control mechanisms that shift financial losses onto actors. It wouldn't just be bad press, it would make every actor in Hollywood reconsider ever signing a Disney deal again. And for a studio that thrives on legacy casting, franchise, and clean press, that's a disaster worse than a box office flop.
Andrew Burnap, great dude. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows?
And you wonder why people are turning from this stuff in droves, right? Like that the original Prince was stalking her. I don't even really remember what Snow White was about either. The midgets gangbanged or whatever it was. It was a wholesome family film.
Here's where it gets even messier. Gal Gadot has been suspiciously quiet during all of this, especially after being allegedly connected to the unpaid disputes as Rachel. Insiders say she's not just sitting back, she's allegedly had multiple meetings with her legal team, quietly contacted Disney's legal reps, and is being strongly advised to go public only if Rachel does first. Which means, if Rachel speaks, might follow. And if two of the lead actresses from a failed Disney production accuse the studio of financial manipulation, that's no longer a scandal. That's a movement.
Now they turned it into woke trash. Check this out for men wokeness. Disney's Snow White said that harm should befall Trump and his voters. Do not see this film.
Let's not forget what Disney's been doing while all of this is brewing. They announced a brand new Snow White reboot, allegedly recast the role without informing Rachel, are rolling out a brand new marketing angle to refresh the IP, and are doing everything in their power to avoid acknowledging the last version even existed. It's the ultimate corporate ghosting. And it's textbook Disney damage control. Their plan is clear. Don't fight the fire. Just pretend it never burned. But now that Rachel's talking about money, And not just emotions, press clips, or bad reviews, Disney may not have a choice anymore. If she sues, they can't ignore it. If she leaks details, they'll have to respond. If Gal joins her, they'll have to restructure contracts across the board. This isn't just a princess feud anymore, it's a financial reckoning in the making.
She's basically a violent, hysterical lunatic who wants babies. She's very concerned that her daughter will have to give birth to a child, which generally grandmothers think is a fantastic thing for their daughters. I don't think Trump is doing any forced impregnations.
The curtain's closing, the castle doors are shut, and Rachel Zegler, she's still standing in the ashes. But now, she's got a mic in one hand and receipts in the other. This wasn't just a fairy tale gone wrong. This was a systemic takedown, disguised as a flop. And now the girl they painted as the villain might become the only person brave enough to tell the truth. Because let's be real, Disney didn't just let Rachel fall. They allegedly pushed her, watched her spiral, and then used the chaos to save themselves millions. But now, Rachel's not playing the role anymore. She's allegedly ready to expose everything, and in doing so, she might just flip her legacy. From the failed princess to the one who dared to speak when everyone else stayed silent.
Why are the worst people constantly empowered in our society? It is going away, but it doesn't go away overnight.
Let's talk about what Disney thought was going to happen. They'd roll out a reboot, quietly rebrand Snow White, avoid saying Rachel's name, pretend the 2024 version never happened, and get audiences focused on the fresh start with a new face, new tone, and new script. Easy, right? Except the money drama hit the surface. And now, every time they push a new Snow White promo, people are commenting, "Did you pay the last girl yet? Why hasn't Rachel been compensated?" Is this your new strategy? Ghost, replace, repeat? The very scandal they tried to bury is now haunting every press cycle, because the second you bring money into the conversation, the fans stop, arguing over who was cringe or woke or miscast, and start asking real questions. And Disney doesn't like answering those.
I'll quickly mention this. The son of Snow White producer Mark Platt, Jonah Platt is the son's name. He is speaking out publicly against Rachel Zegler and blaming her for the film's catastrophic failure at the box office.
As she destroyed hundreds of millions of dollars worth of IP for Disney, but she also has destroyed her career and the careers of anybody who worked on the movie. The producers, far left-wing activists in Hollywood, are turning on her, and Disney has canceled all of Rachel Zegler's appearances on their media platforms.
Let's not sugarcoat it. Rachel fumbled hard in the beginning. She was arrogant in interviews. She mocked the role. She made viral statements that blew up in her face. But now, the internet's vibe is shifting, because it's one thing to drag a star for bad PR. It's another to find out that the studio allegedly didn't pay her and is now trying to erase her entirely. Even people who once clowned her are now saying, wait, she didn't even get her check? So they replaced her and left her unpaid? This is giving Hollywood exploitation, not just bad marketing. And if Rachel leans into that narrative, the one where she was the face of a broken system, not just a bad casting choice, she could flip the script. She's not the failed princess anymore. She's the exposed pawn in a billion-dollar game. And if she takes that energy into an interview, a lawsuit, or even a documentary, she's no longer the joke. She's the whistleblower.
I can only hope that despite my flaws and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them,
She's a good actress.
that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
The ego on this girl is ridiculous.
This case could go one of two ways. Disney buries it with hush money and NDAs. Rachel refuses to be quiet and turns this into a movement. Because here's the truth. Actors have been scared to speak up for years. They take less than what they're worth because studios threaten them with, "You'll never work again." They keep silent when bonuses disappear because contracts are confusing and the press will eat them alive. But Rachel, she's already been dragged, already been replaced, already been frozen out of the system. She has nothing to lose. And that makes her dangerous. If she pushes this into the spotlight, other actors might start coming forward too. People with similar stories, people who were promised residuals and got ghosted, people who were discarded after a film failed, even though the script, the direction, and the marketing were never in their hands. If Rachel starts talking, she won't be alone for long. And Disney could be looking at an avalanche.
And you have parents looking at Disney being like, what are you doing, guys? Like, this is supposed to be a place where magic happens, and all you're doing is indoctrinating kids, and you're having this person be the poster child.
So, what happens now? Rachel doesn't get the crown back. She's not getting rehired. There won't be a sorry from Disney. But what she might get, if she fights loud enough, is justice. Not just for herself, but for every actor who's ever been used, blamed, and silenced. She may never play a princess again, but she might finally become the hero of her own story. Because if she wins this case in court or in the court of public opinion, she leaves behind something more powerful than a dress and a tiara, a warning, a record, and a reminder that even the mouse can bleed. So what do you think? Did Disney cross the line this time? Was Rachel Zegler truly a flop, or just the face of a system that chews people up and throws them away? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like this video, subscribe for more celeb exposés, and hit that bell so you don't miss the next downfall Hollywood tries to cover up, because if they'll do this to a princess, you already know someone else is next.